Truth on my blade, every line's exploded. You swing your words, I counter with precision. Battle of reason, this is my mission. Raise your fist, let them know. No, raise your voice, let it blow. Woo! We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like no retreating. Yeah. No fear, no chain, no treason. Woo! We clash our swords of reason. We clash our swords of reason. Cut through like...
Welcome everybody to Swords of Reason right here on the SpeakeaZy show, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. This is where logic meets passion. Today's debate prompt is red pill manosphere causes more harm than good for men. And now let's meet today's debaters. For the affirmative, we have Mo Rebuttal, who has a channel right here on YouTube where he doesn't post much, but I'm sure after today we're going to see much more content coming. So make sure you guys all go sub up over and give him some support. All right. And for the negative, we have Marte Reyes, a ex-IFBB professional bodybuilder with also a channel here on YouTube where he focuses on politics, social issues, and his relationship with God. And since, Mo, you are for the affirmative, you will be going first for opening statements. So whenever you are ready, go ahead. I will start the timer up with your voice. And thank you both for being here.
First off, thank you, Easy and crew, for putting this debate together. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Marte, for showing up. I look forward to this discussion. But let's get into it. If you spend any amount of time looking into the red pill / manosphere, you'll find endless debates about what it is, what it isn't, and what it's for. Many arguments against it, especially from feminist and lower C Christians, rely on a straw man version of the argument. That's not my goal tonight. I'm going to steel man the red pill / manosphere best I can, because if you're going to challenge a worldview, you shouldn't beat up the weakest version of it. And I intend to show that even the strongest version of the red pill / manosphere is still deeply lacking, and ultimately harmful for men, and in turn, society. The red pill / manosphere does get some things right. I'm sure Marte would agree with some of these. Men were lied to about relationships and masculinity. It gave men language for real issues like divorce, false accusations, and societal hostility towards men. It built brotherhood for isolated men. It encouraged fitness, discipline, and situational awareness. It provides data points for the gynocentric world men find themselves in. These are all legitimate insights and descriptors. Men do live in a gynocentric culture where courts, schools, the media treat them as disposable or dangerous. Progressives treat masculinity as a disease to be cured. This is destructive for society. But here's where everything cracks. The red pill / manosphere has no mechanism for producing the kind of men who would build stable families, men of virtue, or men with any real purpose, and in turn, a healthy society. They see the problem with legal marriage and its risks. Fine. But however, there are many studies out there that show the happiest men in the country are married with children. The unhappiest are unmarried and childless. If marriage is so bad for men, why do men without it report the worst well-being? The red pill / manosphere has no realistic path forward to solve this, because their prescription reduces down to materialism. Chase money, status, and sexual options. Maximize pleasure. Avoid the responsibility of having a wife and kids. But to what end? You can own every toy and die alone with a high score in body count. None of that will comfort you on your deathbed. That isn't legacy, that's just high status consumption. Then there's the dating device. Spin plates, sleep around, practice commitment by refusing commitment. You cannot rebuild a moral society by acting like hedonistic animals. Real masculinity demands restraint, not endless indulgence. Even if your goal is to find a virtuous wife, what exactly do you gain by spending years practicing with women who have no virtue? So, what happens to the men who follow the red pill? They chase casual sex, they delay or reject marriage, and what do they become? Well, there are worse things downstream of the red pill. Enter MGTOW, men going their own way. Men who stop trying, stop building, and opt out of society altogether. Men who brag about freedom while living a life without legacy. And when MGTOW isn't enough, there's a darker evolution, the black pill. The men who did everything the red pill told them, lifted weights, got money, built status, but still can't get what they long for. So, logically, they conclude the game is rigged by genetics and other factors they have no control over, and they give in to nihilism. Hopelessness is the final destination for these men. MGTOW is the pit stop, black pill is the crash site. Now, I'm not saying everyone who follows the red pill will become MGTOW or black pilled, but simply the red pill / manosphere move men further away from meaning, purpose, family, community, and virtue. So this is the thesis for everything I will argue tonight. The red pill / manosphere gets the problems right and gets the solutions catastrophically wrong. And the men who follow it pay the price in the long run. So the main premises are red pill / manosphere will list real cultural failures. 2, its prescriptions statistically make men less happy in the long run. 3, its core is hedonistic materialism, not purpose or real legacy. 4, it erodes the virtues needed for healthy families and in turn a healthy society. Men build and shape society. So that society is a direct reflection of the morals of the men who built it. And I will concede the rest of my time.
All righty. Thank you for that opening, Mo. And with that, we'll hand over the mic to Marte. And Marte, whenever you're ready, I will start the timer up with your voice. And again, thank you both for being here.
So my opponent actually made an argument for red pill the whole time, because I'm not making an argument for black pill. I'm not making this for MGTOW, which is not red pill. Although I do believe that this data packet that men follow is good. He also actually agreed to this, thus semi-conceding to the whole debate. But I'll get into this because I don't want to utter concession like my opponent last night was saying, I won. We're not going to go that tangent. So we're actually going to have a real discussion that also will be imbued with debates, woven and sown throughout this whole discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, moderators, and anyone who's wandering here looking for the crochet club, you know what I'm talking about? The sewing circle Christians. I'm here to defend the outrageous proposition that the red pill doesn't destroy Christian men. It just complements the job that most youth pastors were scared to do. My opponent will tell you the red pill turns men into bitter, plate-spinning cynics who can't love. I'm here to tell you that it is the red pill data packet that aids in boys turning into men. AIDS, right? Who will finally stop volunteering to be the emotional tampon, walking wallet, and doormat to every girl who watched 1 too many Disney movies and 3 too many TikToks. We can all agree that feminism has infiltrated the nation and including churches. The red pill isn't anti-Christian, mind you. It's the protein shake that Christianity ordered, but the church kept replacing with decaf oat milk lattes, labeled servant leadership, as Western feminism infiltrated its very steps. We can all agree with this, and even Mo can agree with that. He's already agreed with half of my premise, and I'll continue. Christianity says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Guess what? The red pill just adds the fine print nobody wants to read. P.S. Christ wasn't a simp. He flipped tables when necessary. So tonight, while my opponent may clutch his pearls and quote Ephesians 5 like it's a Hallmark card, I'll be over here pointing out that the same chapter also says wives should submit, something the red pill noticed about 15 seconds after feminism declared that word a hate crime. In conclusion, the red pill doesn't contradict Christianity. It just removes the laugh track that modern churches added so nobody feels uncomfortable. And if the truth hurts your feelings, well, welcome to manhood, population, guys who took the red pill and realized Captain America never got friend zoned for being too nice. Now, my opponent now has a debate at his helm, which he'll have to concede with. My whole argument is to state that the red pill complements Christianity, and it isn't a prescription. I talked to Rollo Tomasi himself in Vegas, the quote-unquote godfather of the red pill. He said there's no prescriptions in red pill. So that's my definition. Let's get this out of the way. The red pill is a data packet for men to follow, meaning like if I give you fire, you can choose what you want to do with fire. You can either cook a fire or burn a village down. Here, listen, to give you no prescriptions in this whole rhetoric. I just gave you a data pack of cautionary tales and warning signs. Now, without Christianity, guess what happens with fire? Without direction, guess what happens with fire? Anybody goes their own way and they make prescriptions. I agree that prescriptions are bad. That's never been the case for red pill. And I think that when you do this, there's been a grand schism in red pill where people have said, oh, this is red pill. Now, the schism boiled down to different denominations of red pill, which isn't red pill. He went down the path of MGTOW. He went down the path of black pill. None of that's red pill. All these people are designed to make, or actually, Dustin, by their own virtue, grifters, grifting off a bunch of men who are hopeless and saying, oh, we're just going to screw a bunch of women. That, again, isn't red pill. All red pill is just awareness of the society around you. If you go to church, because he brought up, bring your money up, physical fitness and all this other, the church actually promotes any of this too. Health is promoted by the church, bringing your status up, meaning like if I'm clergy, I have a different status than anybody else in the church. To me, it's like the red pill, to me, complements everything with Christianity. We don't see any difference with that. And I don't think Mo would disagree with that. So all these things that I would tell you is like, okay, red pill's just opening your eyes to data out there. And that's my argument and my definition all in once so we can get that out of the way. So me and Mo aren't exactly speaking past each other. So when it comes to the red pill, once again, I'll say it's a data packet, not a prescription. Once again, I can refer to the source, which is Rollo Tomassi, who said, I've never given prescriptions and the red pill isn't prescriptive at all. It's just data saying if this girl has slept with 100,000 people, people called people harlots back in the day in the Bible, hence being a hoe. We know a duck quacks like a duck and walks like a duck is a duck. That's all the red pill does, is saying, here's the data. This is what to avoid. That's bad. There's nothing wrong with this. All Mo's going to do is say it's people that are being responsible with fire that are burning villages down. My argument is saying fire isn't bad. It's just what people do with the fire that makes it into something else that isn't red pill, because all red pill is just a thing until people get their hands on data and people can do whatever they want with data, which warps it into something else that it isn't. So anyways, that's my argument. And I'm anxious to get into this debate.
All right. Thank you, Marte, for that opening statement. With that, we'll give the mic over to you, Mo. Whenever you're ready, I will start the timer up with your voice.
So notice my opponent here really didn't address the core of any of my arguments. He says that the red pill has Christian values in it, and also that it's just a data packet and it has no prescriptions. But let's go back to I can potentially concede the whole debate because I agree with some of the scriptures. If you have a doctor looking at a patient, he has a fever, and one person says, I'm going to hit him in the head with a baseball bat, and the other guy says, well, I'm just going to give him Tylenol. Clearly, one of them is the right path forward. Now, let's talk about the red pill data packet not actually giving any prescriptions. It does have prescriptions. What happens a lot when you make statements is a lot of times there are hidden moral axioms within those statements. So he mentioned Rollo. I'm glad he did. I pulled a few different a list of things from Rollo's books, podcast, and etc. So let's take a look at one of the things it mentioned. He said it's very completely compatible with Christianity. One of the things it says is men evolve to pursue sexual variety. Marte, how does one pursue sexual variety in a Christian paradigm with a marriage with just one wife? I would love to hear his explanation on this. Going into the moral axioms, another thing that's listed is here, desire cannot be negotiated. Women are aroused by behavioral cues, not logic alone. So the men must be the source of confidence. Hidden moral axiom here, confidence is good. Men should be confident. Another one, frame is core to the male success. Another hidden moral axiom, maintaining frame is good, losing frame is bad. You can't make some of these claims without having a moral qualifier to it. So this is just ridiculous. With that being said, I'd love to hear how Marte addresses some of these, and I'm anxious to get into it, so I'll just concede the rest of my time.
All righty. Thank you for that. And Marte, whenever you're ready, we're going to hand you back the mic for your 5-minute uninterrupted rebuttal. Whenever you're ready, start it up, and I'll start the timer with your voice.
Okay, my opponent actually didn't hear me say he conceded the whole debate. I said he conceded some of the debate. That's literally what I just said right now. But we'll go back to this and I'll address this point. So you have a paradox that's presented here. It's called the male sex drive is dangerous versus God-given paradox. And I'll actually explain this to you. Red pill says men are visually wired and have a powerful sex drive. Corn, OnlyFans, easy hookups, exploits that drive and ruin men. I mean, we can all agree with that. Even Christian men will agree with that. The Christian critic right here says red pill spaces obsess over female nature and make men misogynistic to some degree, and it leads them down the wrong path, thus giving them prescriptions. Well, no, it's just reality. The paradox that I'll present to you. The Bible repeatedly warns men that their sex drive is so strong that it could lead to death. This is from Proverbs. Also, and commands extreme measures through Matthew. So acknowledging the strength of male desire is not a red pill invention. It's coinciding with Genesis and other scriptures that we can bring in. So denying it or softening it is actually modern innovation if we deny any of this, which is what the red pill tells you not to do. So as you can see, not only have I addressed your argument, but can show that they can coincide cooperatively, right? So your whole argument is to say, okay, red pill bad because the doctor's in the middle, and then one patient says, okay, I'm going to do this with your information. Another person says, I'm going to do this with your information. Well, it would be the different patients not getting direction from the doctor. The doctor just gave them information and said, you have syphilis. You're just saying you have verbal syphilis. And every time you talk, you infect another person's mind with verbal syphilis. And here's the thing, though. If I tell you what the thing is, it doesn't make the person who gave you the data back. All it does is make them faulty at probably not solving the rhetoric, which also they never said that we're going to solve the problem by telling you what to do, which red pill doesn't get prescriptors on. If I talk to anybody else and I say, listen, man, your wife has been on backpages.com for a very long time, bro. It just wake up, listen to this. I know she says she changed her ways, but listen, she broke the Guinness Book of World Record, and it's been 500 bodies. And this was just like 2 years ago. You know, so it's like if I tell somebody this and I say this was recent, hey, just be careful, bro, because this is a pattern and we're pattern recognition machines. And if I warn you about this, how am I bad? Because this is just data that I'm giving you. I'm not telling you what to do with this information, which is a data packet. I'm just telling you, hey, this is a pattern that I see. You can do whatever you want with this. You can take this. Matter of fact, if I was a Christian that was told this, now I can have more discernment when I make these decisions. All of this is just a social paradigm for us to get data, information. And I think that when I give you information, which is like the fire example I gave you, you can either decide to cook for this, which you can cook poisonous meals for your family, and then say cooking is bad, which I can elaborate that cooking can also be good. Or you can say, I'm going to burn down a village, which can be good because this is the enemy that's going to grape and, off our children. And it's like, I just saved everybody's life because I just burned down a whole village. So here's the thing, though. What people do with the information isn't a prescription that the red pill offers. All it is just a data packet. What people do with this is their own devices. That's why it complements Christianity well. If you have a patriarchal structure, which the red pill also advises men to go to, that's great. Because if I was to tell somebody, hey, this is the information, use Christianity to follow through with the prescription, how am I bad? Can you answer that? I can see my time.
All righty. Thank you for that rebuttal, Marte. And with that, we are going to move it over into the hour of open floor for the debaters to cross-examine each other. But just real quick, another quick reminder for the chat. Again, if you got a question, we got the live Q&A. You should see it in the chat there. Just click on the Q&A, send a question in there. But if you want to make sure it's prioritized, because we only have a 30-minute window after the debate for Q&A, send it via Super Chat, Cash App, PayPal. And also, it helps us keep bringing you these debates, okay? We also have more debates coming up. And if you are interested in debating, make sure you get into the Discord. All right. And then send me a message and just let me know that you're interested in debating. And I will set you up. We will get you lined up for one. And yeah. So with that, thank you both for being here tonight. Again, yeah, you will find I actually still have to add both of them to the description. So you will find both of them in the description. I'm going to do that right now when I open up the floor for the hour. So make sure you go sub up to both the debaters, show them support for coming out and giving you a show. And with that, whoever wants to start out with the open floor, I will start the timer up with your voice. And again, thank you both for being here tonight.
Marte, you mentioned that you don't include the MGTOW and black pill part of the red pill. Is that correct?
No, I don't include that as part of the red pill.
Yeah, okay, but you would admit it's downstream of the red pill, wouldn't you?
Cultures, when you talk about culture, it's downstream from theology. That's like saying you would admit that Jehovah's Witness are downstream from Christians, but that's not Christian, right?
I can see that, sure, but that goes to my point that it did have a beginning. It came from somewhere. So would you say MGTOW and black pill? You would just outright say those are bad. Those
yeah, these are bad, but your argument,
okay.
It basically boils down to you demonizing Christianity because it created sex like
demonizing.
Yeah, maybe you could say that or anything else.
Not demonizing Christianity whatsoever.
I'm glad you don't, man.
Because
yeah.
No, actually, so it being downstream of that though, yeah, it's talking about the MGTOW, it's like it's like men are supposed to be kind of the warriors of society. In modernity, it's more of like cultural warriors. But these guys, they never take up the fight. They quit before they even try. I don't call that a warrior. I call that a glorified street urchin. So I'm glad we're on the same page as far as MGTOW goes. But that is part of MGTOW, and red pill is part of the manosphere. So. It is downstream of the
Jehovah's Witness are downstream from Christians, and then LDS is downstream from Christians. So it's like now you're still reconciled. You have to reconcile that, where it's like if a thing is good, and we could say it's a matter of fact, we could say a thing is good, right? Let's just say that the red pill is good, like Christianity is good. You would then say that Jim Jones and his offshoot in the Jonestown, thing that happened with drinking the Kool-Aid literally would say, well, that was caused by Christianity because it was an offshoot. Well, we can't.
Well, no, the opposite.
Then, can we?
The opposite is true. You would have to admit Jehovah's Witnesses and Jim Jones is good.
No, I would never admit that that's good. Because
based on your own logic, you would have to, because you're saying just because it's downstream, then you're saying that it's not good, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. So if you take something like fire, and you wouldn't inherently say fire is good or bad, right?
Of course.
Right. So it's the people who take this information, who take the fire, the thing that is neither good nor bad, they do with it what they will. You will recognize that there will be grifters in the church, grifters in the streets, grifters saying, you know what, I'm here to save you, lady, and take you off the street. The billionaire red pill guy that says, hey, I'm red pill Mo. I'm going to take her off the streets and save her. I don't want to marry her or do any of this other stuff. I'm just going to prescriptively take this person under my lens and say, you know what, I'm going to give her this lifestyle with the free agent lifestyle and everything else. Well, to me, that's not red pill, because this guy's actually taking the information and doing something else with it. Now, if he saw the information right then when he just observed the information, took in the information, that's red pill. But what he decides to do with it can be anything else. Just like I take Christianity and I say, you know what? The angel Moroni came to me and just built this whole new Bible. This is new, and there's a new prophet now and everything like that. Oh, hold on. Then we would say he's bad, but we would never say that Christianity is bad because he himself decided what to do with this data packet of Christianity, right?
So was the red pill divinely inspired by God?
No, I would never. Well, here's the thing, though. I'll even tell you this. So you're
so
actually
how can we compare the two? How can we even compare the two in the same, like use them logically?
I'll even tell you this. Christianity itself is a giant red pill about human depravity, death, judgment, and hell. Yet no Christian says don't tell young men about sin and wrath. It'll make them more depressed. Can you reckon?
We're talking about the red pill right now, though. We're not talking about
no, you actually talked about Christianity. You said, "How is this not something that's
you brought up Christian?
Right?
Well, yeah, I brought that up, but you originally brought up Christianity to make the comparison. I'm just saying that one is divinely inspired, right. So it's kind of a false equivalence. Can't really compare the two.
But hold on. Christianity itself is a giant red pill. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't necessarily classify as that, because that's giving the red pill way too much credit.
Hold on. It's not, it's a label. It's not like a whole like direction or a movement. It's just information. It's just a label saying the red pill. And I'll tell you what this is. The Matrix came out, and like, let's say Neo had his eyes open, and he's never had his eye open to the truth before. What I'm saying, though, when I say that the Christianity is a giant red pill, is it a giant eye-opening event for men out here?
Sure, but we're not talking about Christianity. We're talking about the red pill.
Right, but this is what I'm talking about. So when I say red pilling, I would tell you, okay, Mo got red pilled, or let's say somebody else. I'll even use the moderator, just cudgel him like I did the last time. So SpeakeaZy got red pilled throughout his divorce that happened through some imaginary person that never existed, because I have to pay respects to Miss SpeakeaZy, by the way, too. This is all imaginary, by the way. And this happened, right? He got red pilled. You'd probably say this. Would a Christian be bad for saying this? What would you take from that information? If I told you that, how would you interpret that?
Well, you're using red pill terminology in a different context. So
that's the context I'm using. That's the context that red pill is used. Is it not?
No, that's not the context. When I crack open a red pill book, am I gonna learn about intersexual dynamics in relationships, or am I gonna learn about random factoids about bugs or something? I'm gonna learn about the intersexual relationship with dynamics with men and women. Am I not?
Yes, you're gonna learn about this, and that's just data. Now, what you talked about is like these are the dynamics. Do you think that everything, when it comes to these dynamics and how female nature works, which actually scripture speaks about and all this other stuff, Samson, Delilah, Eve, these actions just led to the downfall of men. So it's like when the red pill talks about female nature, how would this be not divinely inspired or even an offshoot of the information?
Are you asking me if wait, clarify your question. You're asking me if it's divinely inspired?
For you. So if I was to say, I'm going to red pill Mo about Samson and Delilah and say, you need to watch out, because if a woman tells you what she is the first time, you better believe her. Because if she says, hey, can you tell me the secrets to losing your power, Mo, in debate? Because I don't know, you just keep destroying these people left and right in debates. Tell me what your power is. And you keep denying this person, and I'm not going to tell you, I'm just going to misguide you and all this other stuff. But then you finally, in a drunken stupor, tell us when your power. And then Mo turns into First Amender's brother in the next debate and gets destroyed. It's like you're going to be like, okay, well, Marte was trying to red pill me and make me aware of this situation, but do you understand that this is just complementary to the Christian when we talk about the lens that we look through the world? And that's what I'm saying. So let me make this more concise, even more. When I talk about red pilling, I'm just talking about awareness of data, awareness of information. That's it. And the Bible's done this. Christians, we do this to each other. You've even told me I'm going to red pill you on like the microphone and tell you how to get your audio system better. And I was like, oh shit, he red pilled me on this. I need to learn because I'm a bumbling idiot when it comes to tech. So.
Okay, but you're making up these scenarios to try to like justify something that I'm not even arguing against, right? So let's take it back to the red pill and what it actually states. In one of my rebuttals, I was talking about hidden moral axioms inside statements. So one of the things, and this is straight from Rollo's his blogs and his books and podcasts, you say it doesn't have oughts, doesn't have these should statements. But one is, desire cannot be negotiated. Women are aroused by behavioral cues. Men must be the source of confidence. The hidden moral axiom there is confidence is good. Men should be confident. So I'm not convinced that, sure, you can say some of these are just descriptors in themselves, but not all of them. And quite a few of them do have hidden moral axioms. How do you account for that?
So here's the thing, though. So even if I was to just interlace these two things, they're complementary, and I can show you how. So we're talking about our Christian, our belief system that we have. It's full of warnings about adulterous women's, and people nagging. I'd rather be in the desert than probably the roof of a quarreling wife. You would then say, well, hold on, this guy's speaking red pill to me. And it's like, it's full of warnings. And all this is, if observing, Mo, female fallenness, it is inherently harmful, then the Holy Spirit who inspired scripture harmed every man who ever read it. So to me, this doesn't really make sense, because it's like, if I was to tell you that female nature is bad, I'm probably telling you an ought, according to you, by your statement. Because if I'm telling you, what you allow is what will continue with women, and you don't leave
bad
properly,
would be a moral qualifier, moral value judgment. So yeah, you're sneaking in a moral value judgment in your statement. Yeah, that would be.
But all this is. Do you understand that this is data? If we understand what female nature is, I'm not telling you what
you can say it's
do.
data, but you still haven't continued with what I gave you.
I actually am contending with this because even
no,
if
you went on
this,
a bit of a TED talk there. I'm not looking for a TED talk. I'm looking for a spine. So can you please answer the question?
you got a spine. So I'll even answer it again. I don't want to repeat myself again, so I'll kind of reframe it a little bit for your appetite in debate. So we're going to go ahead and go this route. So, okay. All right. The red pill will tell you that we are pattern recognition machines. And would you agree with this? You'd probably say, yes, we are. Christianity would say we are pattern recognition machines.
My friend Marte, no.
Same thing,
you
man.
can't crawl away from this.
Data,
you have to come back
data,
and look
bro.
at it. You may not like the tune, but you have to dance, my friend. All the
I'm
same.
dancing right now.
So
I'm actually doing the two-step right now, bro.
So, okay. So going back to it, can you answer how men should be confident doesn't have a hidden moral axiom in it? Can you please answer that question?
So if I'm confident, there could be confidence in good stuff or bad stuff. If we're talking about
those are moral claims.
Confident,
those are ought statements.
Hold on, it's a very slippery slope that we're going down. So I can be confident in doing sin, and I can be confident in doing good, right? That's neither good or bad. I don't think confidence is either good or bad. I think it's a means to an end.
That's not what I'm asking.
Your
claim is that it's only a data set, and I'm saying that in these data set statements, there are moral axioms and should statements hidden in there. Men must be the source of confidence. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's. I think that, okay, so I'll even concede that part, right? Which actually supports Christianity. Men should be confident as headship, right? Christianity supports headship. It supports a patriarchal structure. And I think confidence builds all that. So I think to some degree, you are definitely right about that. But I don't think that really counters anything that I have as far as the red pill being bad.
Well,
I think
I didn't say it wasn't a claim. It wasn't a claim that it's inherently bad. It's just going against the claim that it's only descriptor statements when they have moral axioms snuck into these statements.
But you do understand. You do understand if I tell you that confidence is good, I'm not telling you that you should be confident. I'm just saying that it's good. Now, I can also make the other referendum and say confidence is bad, right? You shouldn't be confidently strolling.
Well, the statement is men should be the source of confidence, straight from Rollo. So his content. So
if he's formulating this, he can also make the opposite argument and saying you shouldn't confidently walk into a marriage being ignorant. So I think that this can also be done.
I don't think that was the context of the statement. I think that's reaching the good bit.
It's not. The knife's cutting both ways, Mo. It really does.
It really isn't. I'm just my only point in this was that your claim was, okay, you just have a data set, but I've proven that even if I drill down to these data sets, there are hidden moral axioms inside. Some of them, not all of them.
That's actually not a hidden moral axiom, and I can explain why it's not. So if I tell you confidence, which is neither inherently good or bad, you decide what you want to do with this. Right? You can confidently stroll into a bank, like I said in my example, and off everybody else and take the money, or you can confidently be the patriarchal structure of their family and be a great husband, as our moderator here, doing that by example. So I would think that confidence, it just depends on what you do with this, which I'm not telling you how to be confident or what to be confident in. It's just saying that confidence is good in this arena.
When it comes to the data set of the intersexual dynamics that the red pill covers, do you think Rollo was talking about robbing banks or dating women?
So if he's saying that if you're dating women, confidence is good, people can listen to this information and say, okay, I should be confident, right? That's the person taking their own action of what to do with said confidence. They can say, you know what? He said confidence is good walking into a relationship. I'm going to refuse and say, nah, it's not good because I've used confidence robbing a bank before and it ended up bad for me. It's like saying I've had fire introduced to me before and I burnt myself and that's why I have 3rd-degree scars. I'm not going to take this. So it's the behest of people what to do with this data once again.
So what about this other one? Men must pursue purpose first. Mission first, women second. Hidden moral axiom there would be having a mission is morally superior. Prioritizing women over a mission is wrong. This is literally a moral hierarchy of values. How is that not the case?
There are moral axioms in this, laced into this. I would even concede that, like I did the first time, actually, a little bit, if you're listening. So here's the thing, though. If we are saying that all of this stems from something good and can be good, right? To me, my whole argument isn't saying that the red pill is bad. That's my argument. And if we read the prompt, more harm than good, right? So it actually supports my whole argument of saying, okay, this is good, because if we think about Christ and God and everything else that we should be beholden to, I think that this is good. But here's the thing, though. If you look at any data, even data will tell you this data is more optimal than other data. But people are going to assume this, right? That it's depending on what they want to do with this information and data. Even then, if it's just plain data in numbers and digits.
So would you make the claim that... Are you saying having the data is awareness and that's good?
Yeah, I think awareness is good.
Awareness is good?
I think it's good. Yeah.
Okay. Are you sure about that statement?
Yeah, I think awareness is definitely good. I don't think, well, it depends on what
visibility is good. Awareness means something like progress, conversation, value. So basically you're saying we're talking about it, therefore it's good.
So when it comes to awareness, it depends on what the awareness is. I'm not making an overarching assumption as to what the awareness is. Mind you, I'll even go to your argument that even supports your claim. Here I am being benevolent here. Awareness of eating from the tree of knowledge, right? That was bad awareness. Now, what the red pill gives you is they give you awareness as to what to do with this. Like I said, I can look at this awareness and say, okay, this is definitely bad, but you still have to explain to me how this is bad, how getting information on female nature would be bad, or any of this would be bad.
I can explain how it can be bad and how it is bad. So you already admitted that, you already admitted that, necessarily awareness isn't good, because then if you sidestep this, but basically if you were to make that claim, then you would have to say, okay, well, terrorism raises awareness, that must be good. That's obviously nonsense. So in order to qualify if something is good or bad from bringing awareness to it, we have to measure the harm and the results that come from it. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, in the red pill community, I think with data, you're going to have data that you're going to be confident in. You're going to want to look at the stats. You're going to want to look at outcomes. Hence, matter of fact, I'll bring up my debate from last night. If you look at 9% divorce rates in the Christian, I would say orthodoxy, where, people are more benevolent, stay in marriages, a patriarchal structure, I would say that that's a red pill data point for everybody else to follow, and they subscribe to this. So you can even see the directional analysis after looking at this. People would say, okay, for the red pill community, which I did, I'd say, here's a direction where we have successful marriages. I just red pilled a bunch of people in the audience. So I don't think that that's bad. I think that in me, I'm not even telling them what to do. I'm just saying there's only a 9% divorce rate in here where this is successful, and I'm showing that this is practical in society. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just saying this is the information. Do with it what you will. Okay,
but even going back to just being a data, let's just say, for the sake of this example, it is just this data packet, right? But even if you have just a data packet, there's something that's going to come from that. There's something that otherwise, why give it? There's some inherent value of showing this thing, right? So men can take it into consideration. If going back to my example, if I crack open a red pill book, I'm not going to find random, factoids about bugs and stuff, right? There's a reason why it centers around dating environment and men and how they navigate it. So men are going to take this and they're going to do something with it. They're going to turn an is into an ought. Would you agree?
And I love that you brought this up. So here's the thing that I was saying in my opening statement. Red pill is complementary with Christianity, and I'll give you a quick example. I'm not going to be too long on this subject because I don't want to bore the audience.
Some of it is. I would agree.
So here's the thing, though. If I was to tell my Orthodox priest and I was to say, hey, this dating market is crazy out here, what's your advice for me? Granted, he hasn't been on the dating market in probably years, right? Knowing that there's extreme filters out there, there are women that are trying to get free dates and free dinners and all this other stuff. He's going to be like, you know what? Just use your discernment and, just know that you have to trust Christ and all this. I would agree with that, actually. And I think that there's a hierarchy. When we talk about a hierarchy of needs, there's Christianity. Red pill is down here somewhere. I'm going to say that. But the whole argument isn't the hierarchy of which order or whatever. It's just saying that it harms more men than helps men. My argument is saying that it helps men because what the red pill would do is it would fill in the gaps, because I think that there are a lot of priests out there that would say, well, damn, I don't know what the dating market is like, but good luck. You need to use discernment and use everything that we taught you. What the red pill does is it fills in these gaps and say, bro, that's AI right there. This is not good because this is a new way they're gaming men. I don't think that people would be caught up to this. And the red pill is just a data packet of catching people up to complement Christianity. It helps out a lot.
Well, I would partly agree with you that we do see, and I'm going to piss a lot of people off for this, but I do think you see a lot of, in the Protestant type faiths, a lot of it has been infiltrated by feminism to a large degree. So if people are going to priest of that nature, it would be quite the disadvantage, because they're going to just reiterate feminist talking points to them, and that's not going to help men. But I think when you look at traditional Christianity, and especially men in the church who are of good moral fiber and exude masculine traits, they would be more someone you could look to for guidance on these types of situations. But going
real quick, SpeakeaZy, you're not hearing a lot of static on my end, or hail or rain or anything?
Sounds like a storm. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Yeah, I was having one. I couldn't even hear you talk a little bit, but it's background noise. So I heard half of what you said, Mo, just to tell you.
Oh, I just to restate it. Basically, I was saying that in a lot of Protestant type faiths, you do see it infiltrated by feminism. So if they were going to a priest of that nature, they would definitely get a lot of the feminist talking points that would put men on a worse path. But if you look at more traditional Christianity and go to the older men of those Christianity, you would get more reliable information, men who exude virtue and real masculinity. That would be a better source. And once again, I'm not saying that red pill is wrong. I'm saying that the results of men taking that data packet and running with it, and we've seen this over and over again. This is where things like spinning plates come from. This is where sexual variety comes from. All these different things, you can't deny that these things came from the red pill, even if the red pill claims to just be a data packet.
So here's the thing, though. In my opening, I talked about how it isn't about spinning plates or cynics or being bitter as men. So here's the thing, though. When you say things like, I would say more traditional churches are more caught up to date on certain things. No, I would say that that would actually be the opposite to some degree, because we don't conform to the world, right? We don't do that at all. We're an unchanging standard, matter of fact. Not only this, but because of this, some people can kind of be behind the times when it comes to sleuthy feminism weaving its way in certain segments of like the digital realm, right? So if we think about this, it's
hold on, you're contradicting yourself a little bit.
And a priest is going to tell me, hey, she's doing this, and this is one thing that she's doing that's a new thing that just came out. Red pill's just caught up data that the church would actually support if you brought it to the church.
You're contradicting yourself a little bit, though, there, because you're
I'd
saying
love to
the
hear
church your church isn't necessarily caught up to date. The church has been caught up to date ever since, it was established in the first century. You even quoted scriptures that clearly paint the what the current market is and how the states of men and women are with men in their increased sex drive and women in their state and what they should be. So I would argue that maybe they don't have all the language, but a lot of the pieces are there.
So the problem with with modernity is we're going to get into a sticky situation where it's like, that's what I mean. Two things can be true. And that's the same for what I was just saying right now. So if we're talking about red pill, something that's existed since the dawn of time, which is like awareness of Samson, Delilah, Eve, and all this other stuff, these warning cautionary tales that we've been told the whole time, what you're talking about is we're making a distinction in language, right? And that's all we're talking about is like this distinction. Now, I think that it's important and imperative men to understand that these things can wear different costumes now. Whereas like it's the same thing. Just understand that when I say not caught up to date, I'm talking about caught up to date as far as like the disguises in the sleuth and treachery that happens nowadays on the digital spectrum or even in the dating market, as far as like people planning certain things, and the way that women move nowadays may be different. It's the same in some semblances, because I'll even agree with you on that, because two things can be true. Like I said, now women are using a new device as far as like digital spectrum, AI, filters, everything else. Matter of fact, Marquisha could be Marquand. You don't even know this until you find out that your brother cued you in to say that, oh, gay, this guy's got a donger. And it's like, hey, I would have never know this unless my boy red pilled me, because you could see the mirror reflection in the AI or whatever. Maybe he's astute and knows this, where my priest would have been like, yo, just watch out for it, bro. Like, they're both right. So I don't think I've heard an argument for why red pill wrong.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
Harms man, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you this. If you have, let's say, a group of 1,000 men, and you have another group of another 1,000 men, and the first group engages in casual sex and, you know, just plate spinning, whatever you want to call it, which group do you think is going to have more babies? Yeah, the group doesn't.
So my argument, because you're making this dichotomy, my argument is that red pill complements Christianity, because it doesn't. It can't be prescription.
This isn't about this. I'm just asking a simple question: which one would have more babies?
Okay, reword your question again. Sorry about that.
You have one group, 1,000 men that engage in casual sex. Another group that doesn't. Clearly, the first group's going to have more babies, just out of the rationality. Correct?
The group that engages in casual sex is obviously going to have more babies. Yeah,
exactly. Obviously. Okay. So when you have that situation, we can look at data referencing U.S. government sources that 90% of homelessness is from single mother homes. This Department of Health and Human Services and Bureau of Census, it's worth noting that it's 32 times the average rate of children with two-parent homes. It's also worth noting that when this data set was collected, two-parent homes in this historical database refers to children living with both parents, which at that time was overwhelmingly married heterosexual couples. So we know that fatherless homes is a direct, one of the largest contributors to homelessness. But it gets worse than that. When you look at homeless people in general, their unaliving rates are astronomical. They're up to 10 times higher than the general population. On top of that, men die by unaliving 3 to 4 times the rate of women. So if men follow the strategy of sexual variety and all these other things that are descriptive, how is that going to reduce the number of children born to single mothers?
So I noticed what you just did there was really sneaky. You said follow the variety of descriptors. You inserted a prescriptor in a descriptor. So if we just leave it as a descriptor, you're not going to have a prescriptor. So let's separate the two and create the distinction right now.
Well, hold on. So, do people who subscribe to the red pill not spin plates?
So if people take a data packet and they say, I'm going to decide to spin plates when the data packet didn't tell them that's what you should do. Yeah, people do this.
To measure harm, we have to look at the outcome, do we not? Marxism had a lot of things it recognized as being wrong, but its answers was catastrophic. So we have to look at what happens over a course of time. You can't just look at, oh, there's this data packet and then not evaluate any further than that. You have to look at what the results are from it to measure harm.
So if you look at Marxism on its base, right, you would then have to look at the people who followed a prescriptive lens off of this. You know, just like the red pill, we're going to go back to the red pill. So if I get this information in the data packet and I don't follow the data packet, but I take the data packet and I run to my priest, my church, and say, hey, these are the new stats that's going on right now. How can I reconcile this? And then what he'll do is complement this with orthodoxy and say, knowing this data right now, this is how scripture tells you to move. How would I be wrong? Because that's where I'm saying this whole debate.
Well, you didn't answer my question. You're asking another question. How?
Yeah, of course, I'll answer that.
Do men who follow the red pill spin plates?
Yeah, if they're using a prescription, which I would say the red pill doesn't say you need to spin plates. This would be like an offshoot. Yeah, that would be bad, and also that wouldn't be red pill of them to do so. Yeah,
It would. I mean, they're using the data points in order to say, okay, well, this is what I need to do. I need to be confident. I need to spin plates. I need to. This is the prescriptors that come from the description of red pill.
no,
You can't separate those two. You can, because
you
if
can
you just
separate
have
the
like, if you have just the data point, if the data point didn't exist, then these tactics wouldn't exist.
The red pill has always existed. Like I said, Christianity is one big red pill. So if you have information and data that's existed since the dawn of time, you would then say
Andrew Tate hanging out with the disciples, man? Was he back there chilling with them? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Come on.
What are you talking about? The disciples chilling with who? Like
I said, it was Andrew Tate hanging out and chilling with the disciples. Red pill didn't exist back then. You're making this.
I don't know what that has to do with what we're talking about right now.
You just said that the red pill is, Christianity is red pill. I'm talking about the current.
Yeah, it's a giant red pill. That's not the. So what you just did was you're
talking about something completely different. You're talking about.
You're talking about something completely different.
No, you're using a terminology for. You're saying, well, this thing is red pill, but we're talking about red pill as it exists today in its current situation.
Right. Can you tell me?
You have descriptors. I just did. You have descriptors, and then men take those descriptors and they get some of them we just went over, and you even conceded that there are hidden moral axioms in some of the descriptors. But we'll put that aside. Some men take the descriptors and they take the should statements and they run with it, and that's what a lot of podcasts and books are about. So, if you have men who are participating in the red pill and they're spinning plates, how is that going to reduce? How is that not going to cause more harm in the long run?
So this is the whole gun argument that you're making right now. A gun is neither good nor bad. If I take a gun and I have to make a decision with this, there are gun books everywhere. It'll tell you how to use it, how to aim, how to be better at taking this gun and then using it in certain situations. Now, what the person does with this determines whether or not they're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law or not, or whether or not they can save lives or take lives from this gun that they use. And that's the same argument that you're making. Your argument would be concise, saying that, hey, we should just outlaw guns and just say 2A because this is bad, because some people make bad decisions with this gun that we're taking. So if you take this data packet, because some people decide to, add a prescription on there that isn't involved in these stats of saying that the divorce rate is super high.
Let's go with that hypothetical. Let's go with the hypothetical. Let's say you have a group of gun enthusiasts, and they have a bunch of descriptors, and they get together, and they're all, chummy, they got their brotherhood, and that group turns into, hey, we decided that shooting people's great, and we're just going to do that, and they all start shooting people. Would you say that group is, that's bad? I mean, you would say you would link it to that group, right?
So when you add the human element to it, it changes things distinctly. It's like taking weed. Weed is a natural product.
We're talking about the human element. We're talking about men. We're talking about men. They're human, aren't they?
No, this is the same thing. I'm giving
you
a
human
example. So this is the same thing. So if you add men to the equation of guns, it changes the dynamic completely. A book is just a book, right? When read with men, and they could say what we're going to do. Now, if you add people to the equation of just the gun by itself doesn't do any harm. Now you can have these men, they can do the opposite. Or understand what I said before, this knife cuts both ways. If this said group can then decide to be a group for justice, and they all pass the state board and put on badges, then this would be the argument the other way. All this is pointing to the gun as just
we should let the group of people who decide to shoot people, we should just say, oh, well, that's not their fault. Their group isn't at fault, just because they're tenets and things. They're just listing descriptors. It just so happens that all of these men in this group start shooting people. I'm sure it's completely unrelated. Just like, all the red pills guys are spinning plates and
we have a massive group. And here's a massive group in the nation. We have DEA agents. We have Homeland Security, very familiar with law enforcement. I was in there. Massive group with guns. You would never demonize them for using their power that they have with this gun that they have. And you would never say, we need to take this off the table because
the hypothetical
abusing this gun that they have, which would be the opposite of the law, right?
Can you answer my question, though? Does, as a whole, the red pill community, do they subscribe to these these tenets of spinning plates and sexual marketplace, do they not partake in those things?
Are you talking about a bunch of degenerate men as a nation that may not subscribe to like Orthodox Christianity and stuff like that, that take information to misuse it? Yeah, that can happen. I would agree. Yeah.
I would say it does happen. Does it not?
Yeah, this can happen when people take information.
Can or
does?
Yeah. Can or does?
Yeah, it can happen, and it does happen. Yeah, when they misuse the information. Yeah.
Okay.
But
okay,
hold
great.
on. Here's the other side of the argument. Would you also agree that people take this information and actually use it for good? And does it complement Christianity?
I would, with a qualifier, I would say just because you have a portion of something that is good and they use it for good doesn't mean that I would say the overwhelming majority of men who follow the red pill don't take that approach. Because do you think the overwhelming majority of men are Christians?
So we are, I would say the highest community that we have in the nation we're more of a Christian nation than an Islam nation or anything
that
else.
wasn't my question. Is the highest majority of men who partake in the red pill Christians? Your standard of Christians?
My standard of Christians?
Yeah.
I would say so here's the thing that we're going to get into, and I need to create a distinction before we even walk down this path. I know what you're doing right now.
Give me the answer and then give me the qualifier. Give me the answer and then the qualifier.
I get what you're saying, but let me at least kind of contend with the argument that you're making right now.
Just give me the answer and then give me the qualifier. I'm going to let you talk.
I'm going to answer this concisely, right? Yeah, I'm going to be very concise about this debate. So here's the thing, though. When it comes to red pill, I think that you're going to have what you're saying, and I'll agree with you. A lot of people are mostly going to abuse this that aren't Christian, that are going to take this information and use this. However, I would argue that the other side that are Christians, maybe the few people that do use this and add Christianity, are going to be amazing husbands, good fathers, good boyfriends, and fiancés and things like this, and produce a flourishing society with that.
Okay, so we established that the majority of them are not.
All we've said is that two things can be true. That's all you said now. And
that does not do anything to reduce the state of fatherless homes. So I don't see how you get around this. This clearly is going to lead to more fatherless homes, more plate spinning, more degenerate actions. This is ultimately bad for men. You would agree that men shape society, right?
This is the whole gun argument still, because you're saying ultimately
I'm asking you, are dying because of guns. Do men shape society? Are there more
people using guns for bad than good? This is the argument you're making right now. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I would agree that there's a lot of bad people using this, but should we cancel guns or should we demonize guns because of, let's say the majority of the nation is using guns for bad and we have a prevalent law enforcement that's trying to combat this somehow. Would you demonize guns?
I wouldn't demonize guns, but if there was a group, going back to my example, that took on the mantra of shooting people is good, I would go after that group. And that's the example it's a false dichotomy what you're playing out here. It's not the same thing.
I'm saying that this knife cuts both ways, because on the other spectrum,
no, I've already said that. I've already granted in this hypothetical that you could have a state of descriptors that are good, but if we already admitted that overwhelming majority of men who are using it for degenerate ways, and they're not Christians to your standards. So overwhelmingly, it's going to cause more harm than good in the long run.
Well, hold on. So this is also not a good argument, and I can tell you why. We would say that Christianity in the West has been demonized, infiltrated by feminism, and misused by everybody else. This data packet, which is a biblical standard that we have, traditions, and all this, right? Sacraments have been left to the wayside. People no longer practice any of that.
Would now all of a sudden, we have Jehovah's Witnesses.
But hold on real quick. We have all of this, and people are taking this and manipulate it and making it their own sects and things like this. Would you say that Christianity is bad because of all these decisions people decided to have with the schism that happened? Because the schism happened in the red pill as well, too.
I wouldn't call that Christians.
Right. So I wouldn't call those red pill people. I wouldn't call them red pill at all, for sure.
But you already admitted that the overwhelming majority of men are secular in nature. They're using red pill. They're not your version of Christians. So if that's
they're using a data packet.
If that's the case, then that's the whole debate right there. It's going to cause more harm than good in the long run.
No, I wouldn't.
I don't have to prove that. Oh, just because a small fraction of the red pill is good because Christians of your standard use it correctly. I only have to prove that the overwhelming majority of men, which you already admitted, will use it for degenerate ways, and in the long run, it will cause more harm than good. And we just proved that. And I
haven't even that you haven't even proved that. And I can tell you why you haven't proven that. Let me go ahead and demonstrate.
Okay, so let's go back to the question. Are the overwhelming majority of men who subscribe to the red pill and use degenerate, are the overwhelming majority of men who use the red pill, are they your version of Christians? Let's go back to that question.
So, okay, if everybody uses the red pill and adds no prescription onto the red pill and just uses it as a descriptive,
my question.
do you think that this is bad?
No, don't ask me a question with another question. Don't answer a question with another question, Marta. Come.
Okay, I won't ask you a question. I'll answer it. So if the majority of people have a data packet of information, I don't think that that's going to harm people. What's going to harm people is something that's not the red pill. This would be selfish desire, lack of discipline, and everything else that they have in lack of development, which the church also provides. So my prescription is saying absent Christianity, I think society in general, even absent the red pill, is bad. But I don't think red pill is causing more harm than good. You're basically saying awareness causes more harm than good. So I think that lack of red pill
judge what happens from the awareness and what the people overwhelmingly are doing with it.
No, that's not true. Lack of awareness causes more harm than good. Ignorance is not bliss, Mo.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said to judge harm.
I'm just letting you know something you didn't say because the lack of awareness
harm. You have to look at the long repercussions of it. And you kind of just skirted the question again, though. Earlier, you did say that the overwhelming majority of red pills, people who subscribe to it, are not Christians of your caliber. So that means that they're going to use it, and they're going to do what we see, spin plates, all this other stuff. So that is causing harm. We just showed it with data and homelessness.
False. I can demonstrate.
That's false. Okay, so the majority of men who use the red pill are your version of Christians then.
So hold on. So we're getting into this dichotomy that you're presenting right now.
Can we answer? That's a very simple question.
I'm answering the question. Can I finish answering it?
Go ahead.
Okay, this is my answer to the question. So if you're getting data, but massive people are misusing the data, however, the data doesn't tell you how to use it or what to do with this, for the most massive majority of what you would call red pill data points isn't telling you. Matter of fact, if I then told a bunch of people, I'll answer this instead of answering this. If I then told a bunch of people that being a harlot is bad, having a high sex count and body count is bad, and all this, everything that the church basically agrees with, and then I not only tell them this, but it tells you to level yourself up as a man, level your fitness up, become more confident in certain things, meaning like these are descriptors. It is descriptively accurate that me as being a confident person will enhance a relationship. Now, whether or not I should do this or whatever is neither here nor there. It's just saying what is. It's making an is claim, not an ought claim. You make the ought claim up yourself. So that means that the data isn't bad. What's bad is that when you have mankind, I would say probably cave into their own nature, and that's where you add the men to the guns and men to everything else that make the guns bad. It's not the guns bad. It's what people do with the guns that makes it bad. And that's your argument, is saying, well, the majority of people, the reason why they decide if the massive majority of the United States is bad and they use the information that's neither good nor bad, it makes the information bad. That's a faulty argument.
Okay, so answer me this, Marte. How do we judge harm? By intent or outcome?
Oh, I actually like this. That's a really good, question. So I would say that we judge harm by, I would say, referring to the ecclesiastical church, for sure. The red pill is
you would use that as a base to judge the outcome, would you not?
Well, I'm not one of these people that is just dependent on outcomes. I don't function like that. And I don't think the red pill would say, well, these outcomes are really bad. You should do this or you shouldn't do that.
So Marxism it was kind of okay because, not all the outcomes are like, how do you not judge harm from outcome?
fire burns people. It can have a bad outcome or good outcome. It depends on what you do with this. So
Right.
there's the same question you asked me.
No. You can have all the good intent in the world, but if the outcome in the long run is bad for men, you have to judge it on the outcome.
Yeah,
I didn't intend to push that guy off the bridge. It just was kind of an accident. And he was, well, the outcome, he still died, didn't he?
The outcome of guns saves lives and also murders lives. So it's like, yeah, the gun's not the problem.
Right. Okay. Let's use that example. So you have someone who uses a gun, right? Uses a gun to defend themselves or whatever. And then you look at the state of it. He claims self-defense, but he shot the guy 5 times in the back when he wasn't even approaching him. The outcome, you have to judge the outcome and see if it has harm. I don't think you can get around this. I know you're trying to skirt around.
I'm getting around this right now. So what you're talking about, let's separate this and create a distinction, because this isn't exactly attached to that, right? We can say that if a court case happened and then I ended up in court and they're like saying, Marte, you slept with 500 women and that's outlawed in the state, you're going under. And I said, but judge, the red pill somehow told me to do this, but then they look through the tenets and the red pill doesn't tell me that I should bang 500 people. I would never be using that as an excuse. That would never be a scapegoat for me to use. They would never say, well, this guy was told by this. You'd never see that. Or you would just see descriptors saying, you know what, men with more experience with women tend to have better outcomes, this and that, or whatever. To me, it's like, if I take this data, it's like, it's not going to determine the outcome of how I end up in court. What I think it's going to do is just going to inform me it's my own decision that's bad, not the red pill. It's what I do with it. So you're at the behest of your own question.
So then, but if you had a group of men who, let's just say it's not the red pill, it's just something else, some little list, and they all subscribed to it, and they ended up in court for murder charges, you would say, okay, well, no matter what this list intent was, the outcome is producing a lot of murder.
So I like your question. Really good question. We can tangle with this question. So here's the thing, though. If the outcome is more so, it's not what the person okay, I'll ask you another question, even though I don't want to do this. With your question, what is the person doing? Like where are they getting this information from that you're talking about in the outcome?
Let's just say it's a list of Jim Bob's 10 rules for life, and every time there's multiple cases, hundreds of men end up in court because they followed this rule, and no matter if the rule doesn't explicitly say, hey, you should murder people, they're still murdering people. You would look at the outcome and the harm.
So if they looked at this rule and the rule doesn't say Jim should do this or Jim needs to do this, the rule just says women by nature need to be led by a strong, masculine, assertive, confident person. They're then going to be like, oh, this is bad. Well, no, it's not the rules that are bad, or actually you're saying rules. Let's change it to descriptors, because that's really what they are. Let's be honest here. It's not the descriptors that are bad. It's a bunch of men in their nature falling prey to their own flesh, their own sin, their own desires, things like this. That's really inherently bad. And I think that when you take people and you tell them to make prescriptions out of descriptions, I think that's inherently bad. You would agree with that, right? I think you would. But I think that they wouldn't outlaw this list because they'd be like, well, they dissect it. Lawyers would delve over the information. They'd be like, well, this isn't bad.
We're not talking about outlawing a list or anything. We're just saying that my question was simple. Do you judge harm based on intent or outcome? And if we look at the outcome of the red pill and the men who subscribe to it, we can see it's clear what they follow and what they do. You can't get away from this. You can say all day you want, well, if you use it in this way and if you have the right Christian background, well, then it's good. That's fantastic. But overwhelmingly, men use it a certain way, and you can't get away from that.
Yeah, but Mo, this doesn't make any sense, because women are bad because they exist. And because women exist, the reason why they're bad is because men make a lot of...
Disavow.
No, hold on. Because, no, don't even disavow this. Don't try
disavow. I can't go with you down this plane. Whoa.
Well, hold on. Women are bad because they exist. And the reason why they're bad is because they're OnlyFans people and they make really bad decisions and this and that because they don't have headship or leadership. So we would say that they're bad. Is the majority of Americans women Christian or they're liberal? If you take men off the map, the whole map would be blue and everybody would vote liberal. So your argument boils down to, okay, all women are bad because we would say, would you say ontologically they're bad? You would even disagree and you say, no, it's not women that are bad. It's what leadership they are beholden to if they follow Christ or anything else. But I wouldn't say women are ontologically evil or bad. You would even agree with me. So it's like, that's what your argument sounds like right now. It's like, we can't demonize women because the majority of women in the nation are just making their own decisions and doing something bad. You know, it's like, it's just a really faulty argument.
I mean, you went on this extra, I don't know where you're going with this, talking about, you know, women and ontologically. My argument is very simple,
at least
right?
angle with that at least?
Like, I don't even know where to begin with that because it's not related to what we're talking about. My argument isn't about any of that. It's very simple.
I don't think they're bad, right?
You can't judge, you have to judge the outcome, not the intent. That's what my point is.
The outcome of women, they're having the most ABs in the nation, deleting babies. They're voting liberal. The whole nation would turn blue. So that's a massive outcome that's happening right now. Women are doing this. Actually, it's the majority. Women bad, right?
No,
really
feminism bad.
Oh, they're not bad.
Feminism bad.
Oh, wait, hold on. But the majority of them are feminists, right? That means women bad, right?
I never said men were bad. What are you talking about?
No, feminists bad, right? Women bad, right?
I know, but you're making the correlation here. I never claimed that men were bad.
I'm not saying men, I'm saying women bad.
I know, but that would be the inverse of what you're saying. Like, I'm not making the claim that I'm saying that overwhelmingly the men who follow the red pill, you can't deny this. I don't know why you're trying to skirt the issue. They do follow a certain rule set that says they should be, you know, high status, they should be confident, they should spin plates, all this other stuff. You shouldn't get tied down to in a marriage, or at least delay it.
Can I ask you a question? Let's nip this in the bud right now. Do you believe that people without direction will fall prey to their own desires and self-destruct?
I would say yes, but it depends on the direction you're giving them. Because if you give them bad direction, then it'd be a worse outcome. Right.
Bad direction, right? Now, if I tell you data or information and I say, hey, this is, what the percentage of outcomes that happen with hypergamy with women, right? And I tell you that this is an outcome that happens. Am I responsible for what you do with this information? And does it make it bad?
Wait, rephrase that question again. Sorry.
If I tell you that the majority of women in this nation are hypergamous in nature, end up deleting babies in mass, and that way, and I'm saying that that's what is happening, but I'm not giving you an ought, and I'm saying that you need to be confident when you walk in here and not ignorant. Is that bad? Would that make men bad? If I just, those three things that I just gave you, would that make what I just gave you inherently bad?
The data set itself is, I would say, no, that's not inherently bad. But you would also have to look at the outcome of what men do with it.
But hold on, so see what you did? You just tied this to this. So that way you could say that, okay, Christianity bad because Jehovah's Witness, LDS, it's all the same thing. Women bad. This is what Mo's saying right now. Women bad.
Are Jehovah's Witnesses Trinitarian? Or Jehovah's Witnesses Trinitarian?
I would say that they're not even, Christians.
The answer is no. The answer is no. They're not Trinitarian. So
no, but what do they identify as?
But they don't even
Christians. They identify as Christians, right?
The core tenets of Christianity.
Right, but they still identify as Christians, even though they're not. Can you agree to that they identify as Christians?
You're proving my point.
No. Actually, this proves my point.
No, you're proving my point because my whole point is what people do with the data set. So yeah, you could say Jehovah's Witnesses is bad.
Yeah, they would say that, well, if it's bad, it came from Christianity, so that's how we ended up here. That's the same argument you're making. It's like saying it
didn't come from Christianity.
It's like saying red pill endorses MGTOW, red pill endorses black pill, which
Jehovah's Witnesses didn't come from Trinitarian Christians, so that's not even a good example.
Right, but you'll never see Christianity endorse non-Trinitarian churches, but the non-Trinitarian churches would say we're endorsed by them and we identify as such. Would you not agree with that?
Wait, say that again? You would say what now?
So the Trinitarian churches would say we don't endorse Jehovah's Witness or LDS, but LDS would say no, we're Christian. We're endorsed by all Christianity here. We're Christians. We identify as such. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, you could. Yeah, that's fine. I don't understand.
Okay, so therefore you have like black pill, big tau, and things like that. They would easily identify and say, "Oh, I'm red pill Jason, and I'm red pill this and that." They're not red pill, meaning like we don't follow we don't look at a descriptive packet and then use this to complement Christianity or anything else. Let me just ask you a real quick question because we're winding down on time right now. Let's just hit the nail on the head and just get this over with. Peel the Band-Aid off. Would you agree with me that Christians who took this data and went to their spiritual father and said, "This is the data that I've received. Is there any way that we can reconcile this and make this work for the greater good?" And the pastor says, "You know what? Now that I have this new information, this is what scripture's telling you to do with that information." Would that be bad?
Once again, you're very precise, small sample size. No, that would not be bad, but that's not what I'm arguing.
Right. So I'm arguing that these data sets and data packets are just a gun. And what you're saying is that the majority of Americans are using this gun for evil. And I would actually agree to some extent by saying this, but it's not the gun that's causing harm. It's the man's actions that's causing harms in what they do with this, their own personal desire. You're blaming the gun when it's really the man we should be blaming. You're blaming the red pill when really it's the man deciding what to do with the outcome of the information. That's really the blame.
No, not at all. Not at all. In my opener, I listed that descriptor-wise, I would say the red pill got it right. But once again, you cannot judge harm over intent. You have to judge what comes of it. And
those are two separate things, right? One isn't they're not mutually exclusive.
You still have to judge it based on the long-term effects of the men following it, which they are secular. They're not the Christians that you subscribe to. So you have to look at that harm and what that's going to cause over time. You can't get away from that.
Yeah, guns caused a lot of ilk in the nation, and it's caused a lot of dissension when we come to certain things, but we're not going to demonize guns. What people decided to do with this is bad. It's their decisions. It's man that's bad. It's not guns that are bad. You're demonizing the red pill data packet when really it's not the packet that's causing harm. It's actually men's direction, their prescriptions that they're putting on top of this that's bad.
I'm not demonizing the red pill data packet. I'm saying that the outcome of the men who follow the red pill data packet has prescriptions, and those prescriptions are dog shit.
No, I disagree with that, and I reject that premise. Also,
you don't. The
reason I don't think I don't think it's dog shit because I can take this.
You don't think the prescriptions are dog shit?
You have, I could take this to my spiritual father. He can reconcile this, and I can go to the nation. Hence, it's not the data packet. It's what
the prescriptions are good. All the prescriptions are good. Is that what you're saying?
What are you saying? You're saying all the prescriptions are good? I'm not making that claim. That's not my claim. I've never made that.
Sound like you said.
What I'm saying is I can take this data, go to my spiritual father and say, "This is the information. These are the new stats right now. What can I do with this?" It's not the data that's bad. That's not what's harming men. It's their lack of going to a spiritual father or taking this information and finding guidance alongside this. What they're doing is they're taking something that's inert. I would say this is inert unless you do something with this. It's not really bad.
And,
it's what
okay, then answer me this. Is the majority of the red pill community doing that, Marte?
Yeah, let's say that all the red pill community didn't do this, right? Let's just say they didn't do this. And I'll even grant this, right? It still wouldn't be the red pill that's bad. It's just a lot of people adding.
You're arguing against something I'm not even saying. You're arguing against something I'm even saying.
The red pill. This is separate.
I'm not claiming that the descriptors are inherently bad. I'm saying you have to look at the outcome. Once again, intent versus outcome.
No, I also reject that as well too. Because what you're talking, we have to create a distinction. What people do with this can be bad, right? We can say that can be bad, but it doesn't inherently mean thing bad. It doesn't mean information data bad. It doesn't. That's not what causes the thing bad. You would have to, so you'll agree with me on this. Would you agree that sin is inherently all of us being born into this in this world? Would you agree with that?
I would say sin is inherent, yes.
Right. Sin is inherent. So it's like if most men are inherent with sin, that would be a very problematic thing, regardless of what information and data we have, because that can lead us astray more than a red pill data packet of like what is. It is true that when women sleep around, they're most likely to divorce, all this other stuff, but it's not that information that's going to lead you astray. It's just us following something else that isn't red pill and adding on top of it.
Well, we're winding down here. I'll just mention that I think I've made all my points clear, but one thing that I did play around with is, and I didn't do it, but it would have been fun to take your video of the marriage dilemma and then quote back to you the 20 things in there and how basically majority of those things are on my side and what I agree with. But, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately,
I decided to be graceful debater. I am malevolent. I'm very generous.
Yeah, you're very benevolent, man. This is good, man. You know what? This is actually kind of a refresher compared to what I'm used. I'm so exhausted from the black fatigue right now. Sorry, I'm recovering from that actively. So I appreciate your white eraser to the black fatigue. I don't know if I can even say that. Right. I probably pissed a lot of people off right now. Black card revoked indefinitely.
No, I enjoyed this. This was great. I enjoyed.
Yeah, that's good.
It was fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoyed it too. Actually, this was a really good one. And again, it's always great when I don't have to do much. Right? Both sides did great here. So with this chat, we are gonna wrap up the open floor part there. So whenever you're ready, again, thank you both for being here tonight. And whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer up with your voice.
Yeah, well, once again, thank you, Easy and crew, for putting this together. I really appreciate it. Thanks for Marte for being a great debate opponent. Just to kind of research some things and go over some of the stuff we talked about. The topic tonight was whether the red pill manosphere causes more harm than good. I think after everything we discussed, I've made my points, and that remains undeniably true. We talked about the homelessness issues. We talked about, men just being degenerate and spinning plates, not really actually settling down and building a society worth inheriting. It's a situation where you have to look at the outcome, not the intent. I've already said I agree with that. The red pill in itself, this list of things it goes over, those aren't inherently bad. In fact, I agree with many of them, if not all of them. The point is, though, you have to look at the long-term effects. You cannot measure harm based on just a snapshot at the beginning. You have to look at what it's going to happen after the fact. My opponent already conceded the MGTOW and black pill is toxic, and he thinks that's worse for men. That's part of the manosphere. So really, you just have to ask yourself some questions to the audience. Does the red pill / manosphere, does it build husbands and fathers? Does it make men happier for society? Does it produce real leaders? When men follow it, does it lead them to happier, fulfilling lives? I think the answer is clearly no. But that's basically all I have to say, and I'll concede the rest of my time.
All righty. Thank you for that closing, Mo. And with that, we're going to hand the mic over to Marte for your closing statement. Whenever you're ready, Marte, I will start the timer up with your voice.
I appreciate you allowing me to speak on your platform, SpeakeaZy. Also, hello to the Mrs. Very Based marriage going on here. By the way, I'll even present that. We need more traditional marriages, and I actually support that as well too. I am taking on a position that's a devil's advocate position. I don't call myself red pill at all. Let's get this straight. I'm an Orthodox Christian who doesn't lead with orthodoxy in debates. I just like common sense principles and traditional families, hence me mentioning the moderator's name. Now to my opponent, Mo, I appreciate you meeting me on fierce grounds of dueling. I like this. I think that this was a really good debate. I think this was also informative discussion for both of our parts. I think that we may have learned something from one another. Now let's get to the debate and my response as a rebuttal, pun intended. Here's the thing though, is that his argument never really conceded, it never really, I would say, rebutted anything that I said as far as my points of saying red pill bad, more bad for society. And here's why. So we can agree prescriptively that there are a lot of deaths that happen in America because of guns. You would say, have guns ever given life to anybody? Well, maybe it's saved some lives, but it's taken more lives off than anything else. Well, you would never, as a nation, blame the gun for all these deaths that have happened and say guns bad, wipe them off the map. You would then say, no, we need to craft laws around this. We need to give a prescription for these guns that doesn't exist when gun culture. That's why we have laws, things like this built around this as safeguards. They insert Christianity, which I brought into the chat. And now that we're talking about this, all I'm talking about is a gun. And his argument boils down to this. Because of outcomes, guns are bad, right? Let's outlaw this. Because of outcomes, women are bad because ABs, baby deletion, everything else like this, left to their own devices. We can go on a plethora of examples of how thing bad. Well, really, if we boil down to this, we wouldn't delete women off the face of the earth. We wouldn't delete guns off the face of the earth because we realize that there's a purpose in a descriptive claim that we can use. We observe that a gun can do two things. It can either be good or bad. We can look at a woman, despite what Eve did or Delilah did to Samson or anything else, that can be either good or bad. It's the leadership with this information. It's your decision-making ability. I'm able to create a distinction and separate the two. Now, I can have a data packet of information. I wouldn't even look at the results of this information. Now, what this information is an accumulation of results. What you do with this is up to you. Now, you could take this and go to Christians. You could take this and do anything else you want, but you would never blame this thing for outcomes. You would just say this thing is bad, is not bad. It's just inert. But once activated, whatever activates this is actually bad. Meaning your intention, which you separate from one to the other. Now, your intention added on to this is what makes it good or bad, just like the gun. I could pick up a gun, save a life, or kill a life. I can take fire, cook food for a village, or burn down a village. I could take a woman, she could AB all my babies at Planned Parenthood, or she can build a patriarchal structure in a family and accommodate this in a communal setting. So this is what I'm saying. If you start blaming the outcomes, you then make the thing bad, which it's not inherently bad. It's what people do with this under the guise of leadership. And that's what I think is bad. There's no leadership in this country. And that's why I'm making it actually, I would actually promote Christianity, and actually Mo would too. He would promote this. When added onto this, it's good. But actually, when you talk about data, I don't think the data is good nor bad, and I don't think that's causing people harm. It's actually the majority of belief systems added onto this that's actually bad. Hence, the whole gun argument, the whole female all bad thing, which he didn't want to dive into, which understandably so. I don't want to piss off his missus either. So it's like, I'm just a 40-year-old virgin in the middle just talking about this ranting. So, by the way, I appreciate you guys having this debate with me. This has been fun, and it's been a great time playing devil's advocate for once, which I like. Good stuff.
All righty. Thank you for that closing, Marte. And if you're enjoying what you've seen tonight, make sure you subscribe to the SpeakeaZy channel so you don't miss more debates just like this one, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays.